My mom texted me, "Good morning, sunshine," every day for 3 years. Then the messages suddenly stopped. Every morning at 6 a.m. "Good morning, sunshine." Never earlier, never later. 6:47 exactly. My mom started it when I moved to Portland for work. She lives in Ohio. The time difference means she's texting me at 9:47 her time, right after her morning coffee. It became our thing. Some days we'd talk after. Some days just the text. But I was always there. Until Tuesday. Tuesday my phone didn't buzz. I woke up at 7:15 and checked. Nothing. I figured she slept in. She's 64. She's allowed to sleep in. I texted her, "You okay?" No response. By noon. I was worried. I called. Straight to voicemail. I called again at 2. Again at 4 again. And at 7. Nothing. I told myself she was at bingo. She goes Tuesdays. Her phone probably died. She forgets to charge it sometimes. Wednesday morning, still nothing. My hands were shaking when I called my aunt. "Have you talked to mom?" "Not recently." "Why?" "She's not answering her phone." "She's probably busy." "You know your mother?" I did know my mother. She answered her phone always. Even during movies? Even in church. That one time, I called her best friend Linda. "Have you seen my mom?" "Not since book club." That was Thursday. She seemed fine. Thursday was 6 days ago. I called her doctor's office. They couldn't tell me anything. Privacy laws. I wanted to scream at them that I was her daughter, but my voice wouldn't work right. Thursday, I called her neighbor, Mrs. Chun. "Can you check on my mom?" "Of course, sweetie." She called back 20 minutes later. Her car's in the driveway. Her newspapers are piled up. 3 days worth. I knocked, but nobody answered. My stomach dropped through the floor. "Can you go inside?" "I don't have a key." "Honey, break a window." "Please, I can't do that." I booked a flight. Last-minute ticket to Cleveland. $647. I didn't care. I would have paid $6,000. The plane couldn't go fast enough. I kept checking my phone. Still nothing. I tried to think of explanations. Maybe she went on a trip and forgot to tell me. Maybe her phone broke. Maybe she lost her charger and couldn't text. But she would have called from someone else's phone. She would have emailed. She would have sent a carrier pigeon. She wouldn't just disappear. I landed at 11 p.m. Friday. Rented a Nissan Sentra and drove straight to her house. Ran 2 red lights. Didn't care. All the lights were off. I used my old key. The door stuck a little, like it always did. Mom. The house was silent. Everything looked normal. Her reading glasses on the coffee table. A crossword puzzle half finished. Her favorite mug in the sink with coffee rings dried inside. But something felt wrong. The air felt still. Well, too still. I checked every room, downstairs, kitchen, living room, bathroom. All empty. I walked upstairs. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Her bedroom door was open. The bed was made. Hospital corners. She always made it that way. Even when she had the flu. On her nightstand was her phone. Plugged in, full battery. 47 unread messages. All for me. My throat tightened. Why wouldn't she read them? I picked up the phone, unlocked it. She never changed her passcode. My birthday. 0812-6. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. 0812, my birthday. I tapped the messages icon. The thread with mom was at the top, pinned. The last message sent from this device was Tuesday, 6:47 a.m. "Good morning, sunshine." But when I scrolled up, my thumb hovering over the glass, I saw something that made the hair on my arms stand up. Monday. "Good morning, sunshine." Sunday. "Good morning, sunshine." Saturday. "Good morning, sunshine." I looked closely at Tuesday's text. "Good morning, sunshine." The comma. For 3 years it had been "Good morning, sunshine." Comma included. Tuesday, the comma was missing. My mother was a retired English teacher. She didn't make typos. She didn't forget commas. Someone else had sent that text. I dropped the phone on the bed like it was burning. The silence of the house, which had felt empty before, now felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. I wasn't alone. Or rather, I hadn't been the last person here. I grabbed the phone again, shoving it into my pocket, and scanned the room. The hospital corners on the bed were perfect. Too perfect. Mom was neat, but she had arthritis in her hands. Getting a sheet that tight would have hurt. I backed out of the room. I needed to leave. I needed to go to the police station. As I turned toward the stairs, a floorboard creaked above me. In the attic. I froze. The attic pull-down was in the hallway ceiling, just outside the bathroom. I stopped breathing. The house settled, groaning in the wind, but then I heard it again. A shuffle. The distinct sound of weight shifting on fiberglass insulation. I didn't scream. I didn't call out. I took off my shoes, holding them in my hand, and crept down the stairs, hugging the wall where the steps didn't squeak. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would crack them. I reached the kitchen. The Nissan keys were on the counter. I grabbed them and the butcher knife from the wooden block. A ridiculous weapon, but it felt heavy and real. I went out the back door, locking it silently behind me. I didn't run to the car. The driveway was lit by the street lamp. If someone was watching from the attic window, they'd see me. Instead, I ducked under the deck, crawling into the lattice-enclosed darkness where Mom kept the lawnmower. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? There's someone in my mother's house, I whispered. 1402 Elm Street. My mother is missing. I think they're still inside. I waited in the dirt, smelling gasoline and wet earth, watching the house. 10 minutes later, the blue lights swept across the lawn. 2 cruisers. I watched as they kicked the front door in. I watched as lights swept the windows. And I watched as they brought nobody out. Officer Miller was young, skeptical, and clearly tired. Ms. Kincaid, we checked the attic. We checked the basement. The house is clear. There's no sign of forced entry. I heard footsteps, I insisted, shivering in the oversized blanket a paramedic had given me. We were standing in the kitchen. The butcher knife was bagged as evidence, though I hadn't used it. Old houses make noise, Miller said gently. And you're stressed. You flew across the country. My mother is missing. We've filed the report. But, look, nothing is out of place. Her purse is here. Her wallet. Her phone. The comma, I said. Miller blinked. The what? The text message. The punctuation was wrong. She didn't send it. He gave me a look that said hysterical daughter. We'll ping the cell towers to see where the device was on Tuesday, but since the phone is right upstairs. Can you check for prints? On the phone. We can, he sighed. But since she lives here, her prints will be everywhere. And yours are on it now too. They left an hour later. They promised to patrol the area. They told me to get some sleep. Sleep was impossible. I sat on the living room floor, back against the sofa, watching the front door. I had Mom's phone in one hand and mine in the other. I unlocked her phone again. I didn't look at the texts this time. I looked at the photos. The last photo was taken Sunday. A picture of her garden. Before that, a selfie. She looked tired. Her eyes were rimmed with red. I scrolled back. Weeks of normal photos. The cat. A pie she baked. Then a photo from 3 weeks ago. It was blurry, taken through the blinds of the front window. A black sedan parked across the street. She had zoomed in on the license plate. 0592 VZR. I forwarded the photo to myself. Then I opened her notes app. Nothing recent. Just grocery lists. Milk, eggs, bread, birdseed. Wait. The grocery list from last Monday. Milk. Apples. Yeast. Ammo. I stared at the word. Mom didn't own a gun. She hated them. When I was 10, I found a cap gun at the park and she made me throw it away. Ammo. Maybe she meant ammonia? For cleaning? No. She spelled out mayonnaise on the line above. She didn't abbreviate. I stood up and walked to the coffee table. The crossword puzzle. I had glanced at it earlier, but I hadn't really looked. It was the Sunday New York Times puzzle. Mom always did them in pen. She had filled in about half. I looked at the clues she had answered. They were written with heavy, angry strokes. The paper was nearly torn in places. 3 down, hiding place. Answer, cash. 12 across, signal. Answer, flare. 15 across, past tense of leave. Answer, left. 22 down, Sunshine State. Answer, Florida. Florida. Why Florida? We had no family there. We never went there. I looked at the grid again. She hadn't just filled in random words. She had circled letters. In cash, she circled the C. In flare, the A. In left, the L. In Florida, the L. CLL. Call. Call who? I looked at the puzzle again. There was a phone number scribbled in the margin, but it had been scribbled out aggressively, a dark block of ink. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a flashlight, and held the paper up to the bulb. I could just barely make out the indentations of the pen. 2-0-2. Washington, D.C. area code. The rest of the numbers were faint. 5-5-5, no, that's fake. 5-5-4. 0-1. 9-9. I dialed it on my phone. It rang once. Twice. A click. Status. A male voice. Deep, distorted. Hello. I asked. Silence. Who is this? The voice demanded. Sharp. Military. I'm Ellen's daughter. Where is she? A pause that lasted an eternity. Throw the phone away, the voice said. Leave the house. Go to the public library on 4th, 3rd floor. History section. Look for the book on the sinking of the Lusitania. Do it now. You have 10 minutes. Who are you? I'm the reason she's still alive. 9 minutes, sunshine. The line went dead. I didn't take the Nissan. I ran. It was 3 a.m. The streets of suburban Cleveland were dead silent, the streetlights humming overhead. I felt exposed, like a deer in an open field. Every parked car looked like the black sedan from Mom's photo. The library was closed, obviously. I stood at the back entrance, panting, my breath pluming in the cold air. 10 minutes, I whispered. I looked around. There was a brick loose near the loading dock. Mom used to volunteer here. She told me once about the smoking spot the custodians used, how they wedged the door. I checked the heavy steel door. Locked. But the window next to it, the one into the basement sorting room, was cracked open an inch. I wasn't a criminal. I was a marketing manager for a shoe company. But tonight, I squeezed my fingers into the gap and heaved. The old latch gave way with a screech of rusted metal. I slid through, tumbling onto a pile of donation bags. The library was a tomb of shadows. I used the light from my watch to navigate the stairs. 3rd floor. History. Rows and rows of looming bookshelves. I scanned the spines. World War I. Naval history. The Lusitania. I pulled the book off the shelf. It was heavy hardbound. I opened it. The center was hollowed out. Inside was a burner phone and a keycard. The burner phone buzzed in my hand the second I touched it. I answered. Good, the voice said. You're resourceful. Like her. Where is my mother? She's been taken. But she bought us time. She broke protocol to text you that comma. She knew you'd notice. Protocol? Who are you people? Listen to me closely, Maya. Your mother isn't Ellen Kincaid. Ellen Kincaid died in 1988 in a car accident. The woman who raised you is named Sarah Vance. She was a cryptographic analyst for the NSA. And she stole something very important 30 years ago. My knees gave out. I slid down the bookshelf, hitting the floor. That's crazy. She bakes cookies. She plays bingo. It's a cover. A 30-year cover. We thought we were safe. We thought the people looking for the drive were dead or in prison. We were wrong. The drive. The Sunshine file. It's a list. Names of compromised agents. Politicians. It's leverage. She stole it to keep it from being sold. Where is she? They have her at a holding site. An old industrial park by the river. They're torturing her for the location of the drive. They don't know she doesn't have it. Who has it? You do. I stared at the empty air. I don't have anything. Think, Maya. Good morning, sunshine. Every day. 6 Uhr am. Why 6 a.m.? Because of the time difference. No. Because the passcode to the drive changes every 24 hours. The text wasn't just a greeting. It was a ping. A heartbeat signal to a server she set up. As long as she texted, the server stayed dormant. When she stopped, the server woke up. And it sent the decryption key to the only email address that didn't exist in 1988. Yours. I scrambled to pull out my own phone. The one the man had told me to throw away, which I hadn't. I told you to ditch that line, he snapped. I need to check my email. Don't. Glass shattered above my head. A bullet tore through the book I was holding, shredding the pages about the sinking ship. I scrambled on hands and knees, crawling down the aisle as a silencer thwipped again, taking a chunk out of the wooden shelf. Run, the voice on the burner phone screamed. South exit. I'm 2 minutes out. I sprinted. I didn't look back. I heard heavy boots on the linoleum behind me. I burst through the emergency exit, setting off the alarm. The night air hit me like a slap. A gray van screeched around the corner, jumping the curb. The side door slid open. Get in. It was the voice. I dove into the van. The driver was an old man. Older than Mom. He had a scarred face and looked like he was made of beef jerky and iron. He gunned the engine, and we peeled away just as a man in tactical gear burst out of the library doors, raising a rifle. The back window shattered. I curled into a ball on the floor of the van, covering my head. Welcome to the family business, kid, the old man grunted. The old man's name was Bishop. He drove us to a safe house, a hunting cabin 40 miles outside the city. He made coffee. It smelled like mud and tasted like kerosene. She shielded you, Bishop said, watching me shiver by the wood stove. She wanted you to have a normal life. Portland. Marketing. Shoes. Is she going to die? Bishop checked a tablet on the table. Not until they get the drive. And they can't find the drive because she hid it in the one place nobody looks anymore. Where? The cloud? No. Too hackable. Bishop tapped his temple. Physical media. Analog. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a cassette tape. She mailed this to me on Monday. Priority overnight. A cassette tape? Digital data encoded as audio. Old school. Sounds like screeching modem noise if you play it. But run it through the right software. So we have the list. We have the leverage. Now we need to make the trade. They won't trade, I said. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. If that list exposes powerful people, they can't let her go. Or me. Or you. Bishop looked at me with a grim sort of pride. Smart. You're right. They'll kill us all the second they have the tape. So we don't give it to them. Then they kill her. I stood up. The fear was burning off, leaving something cold and hard in its place. We don't give them the tape. We give them the sunshine. What? You said the server woke up. You said it sent the key to my email. Can we use the server to broadcast the list? Bishop's eyes widened. If we do that, the government, the cartels, everyone on that list comes for us. They're already coming for us, Bishop. My mom is in a warehouse being tortured. If we release the list, she loses her value as a hostage. But she also becomes a witness they need to silence. No, I said, my mind racing. We threatened to release it. But not to the public. To their enemies. Bishop smiled. A terrifying, jagged smile.
Mutually assured destruction.
Ellen taught you well. The industrial park was a graveyard of rust and broken glass by the Cuyahoga River. We pulled up in the van at dawn. The sky was bleeding purple and orange. Bishop had set it up. A meeting. I walked out into the open space between two corrugated metal warehouses. I held the cassette tape in one hand and a detonator in the other. Bishop was in the van, perched with a sniper rifle. 3 SUVs pulled up. 6 men got out, heavily armed. Then a woman stepped out. She was wearing a beige trench coat. She looked like a realtor, except for the cold, dead look in her eyes. 2 men dragged my mother out of the back of the center SUV. She looked terrible. Her face was bruised, her lips split. She was limping. But when she saw me, her eyes widened. She shook her head violently. Run, she mouthed. Maya, the woman in the beige coat said. You look just like Sarah did at your age. Let her go, I said. My voice didn't shake. The tape first. Send her over. When she reaches the van, I drop the tape. The woman laughed. That's not how this works. You give me the tape, and I let you both live. I know who you are, I lied. I read the files. The woman stiffened. And I know about the contingency, I added. Bishop. From the van, a loudspeaker crackled. A computerized voice began reading names. Senator John Vargas. Operation Bluebird. Account number 774. The woman's face went pale. The server is live, I yelled. It's broadcasting to a dead man switch. If I let go of this detonator, or if my heart rate stops, the full list goes to the New York Times, the FBI, and the darker corners of the internet. It was a bluff. Mostly. We didn't have a heart rate monitor. We just had Bishop pressing play on a laptop. Call it off, the woman hissed. Let her go. The woman looked at the men. She nodded. They shoved Mom forward. She stumbled, falling to her knees. I ran to her. I dropped the detonator, which was just a garage door opener, and grabbed her. Mom, I've got you. You stupid, brave girl, she sobbed into my hair. The tape, the woman screamed. Stop the broadcast. I looked at her. I raised the cassette tape, and I threw it into the river. The plastic clattered against the concrete embankment and vanished into the dark, oily water. Oops, I said. The woman screamed in order. The men raised their guns. But sirens wailed in the distance. Real sirens. Hundreds of them. Bishop had done one other thing. He'd tipped off the FBI. Not the corrupt ones. The ones who hated the people on that list. We have to go. The woman's head of security barked. Now, they scrambled back into the SUVs. They couldn't shoot us. Not with the police closing in and the threat of the leak hanging over them. They needed to regroup. The SUVs peeled out, tires smoking. I held my mom on the cracked pavement as the sun broke over the horizon. The light hit her face. She looked broken, old, and terrified. But she was alive. Good morning, sunshine, I whispered. She managed a weak, bloody smile. Good morning, Maya. We didn't go back to the house on Elm Street. We couldn't. It was compromised. Bishop helped us disappear. It wasn't as hard as it is in the movies. Not when you have a mother who knows every backdoor in the system. 6 months later. I live in a small town in Montana now. The mountains are huge and sharp, cutting into the sky. I work at a local library. I don't use my real name. Mom lives in the guest cottage behind my cabin. She walks with a cane now. The damp cold bothers her knees. We don't talk about the list. We don't talk about the NSA. Bishop visits sometimes. He brings venison jerky and checks the perimeter sensors. But we have a routine. Every morning, I wake up at 5:45. I make coffee. I sit on my porch and watch the sun hit the peaks of the Rockies. At 6 a.m. exactly, my phone buzzes. I look down. Good morning, sunshine. I look across the yard to the cottage. Mom is sitting in her window, holding her phone, waving at me. I wave back. I type. Good morning, Mom. I don't need to ask if she's okay. The comma is there. Everything is right with the world.